What's going on, guys? It's Jake. We're back in for another YouTube video, and as you can see, all of these beautiful parts from Vibrant Performance just came in the mail a couple of days back. So in this video, I'm going to go ahead and lay out everything, unbox it all, and show you guys where the 2.5-inch pipe's going to be, where the 3-inch pipe's going to be, and where the 4-inch pipe's going to be. So before we get into that, I want to remind you guys, if you're not already entered into the giveaway for 2,000 subscribers, you go into the last video, make sure you're already subscribed to the channel, drop a like on that video, and make sure you comment, because that will enter you to win some free stuff from Super Clean and also Import Image Racing, as well as a nice pitch stop mount for any of your guys' cars. So be sure to do that, and also drop a like and subscribe on this video as well. But before we get into showing you guys all the parts that Vibrant hooked us up with, we're gonna go ahead and show you guys a little bit of progress I've been making on the build. So I went ahead and got the up pipe blanket on, as well as the down pipe blanket from Torque Solutions. So if any of you guys are familiar with the down pipe or up pipe blanket, more specifically the up pipe blanket, the blanket isn't really meant for a external wastegate setup. So I had our upholstery guy here go ahead and cut out a little U, so that way I could still slide the up pipe blanket up far enough to where it would still be useful. So I'll show you guys that real quick. I also got done a couple boost lines, which the turbo's in the way a little now, so I can't really show you guys super well, but I'll definitely fill you guys in on that before this video is out. Also, I had to put back on the turbo, and I had to get everything straight because it won't be long before Zach's gonna be here and we're gonna be welding up these custom pipes. So that's gonna be a cool process. I really can't wait to share that here and see your guys' thoughts on all that, because it's a kind of a big step for the build. So I'm really excited to get that going and get that started. But without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and fill you guys in and show you on the car what I've been kind of doing. So stay tuned. All right, so as you guys can see, got the turbo back on. The manifold is just on with 4 bolts, 2 on each side, just to see where everything is. I did go ahead and take the front fitting off of the Boomba throttle body, because we're gonna have to cut and modify that, because we're actually not gonna put our clamp right there at the throttle body. We're gonna actually have it over there somewhere. But moving on to the turbo, I just have the blanket for the turbo sitting on right now. I don't actually have it installed, because whenever Zach does weld up this stuff, I'm gonna have to have the turbo on and off probably several times. So that's just kind of sitting on there. As you can see on the top of the turbo, there's a little plug for the oil feed line, and there's our oil feed line right there. So I went ahead and took the blanket off just to kind of show you guys what's going on. So as you can see down in here, we have a T fitting. What we got going on here is our boost controller. That is running over to a T, where one fitting enters the bottom side of the wastegate and the other fitting enters the top side of the wastegate. And then the center port on our boost controller is just a little filter there, so it's just venting to atmosphere. And then our one other line coming off the T is going to the front of the turbo here. Now I put a 45 on there and then another 90 degree. Like I said in the last video, all of our boost lines are 4AN. So all that stuff I'm really happy with. I don't have it all buttoned up yet, but for the most part, it's where it needs to be. So I'm happy to have that done. So I just took this one boost line off so you guys can get a better look at the up pipe blanket. So it's kind of tight how it was fitted in there. I actually did have to remove the up pipe to get that thing on there properly, because down bottom there, it's just really tight on the bottom of the motor. So I did remove that earlier today, and now the blanket is on there pretty good. So hopefully you guys can see where it's cut out right there. It's just like a little U cut out. Not terribly hard to do, but luckily we had that upholstery guy on hand. So then taking a look at the downpipe blanket, this blanket was actually a little bit too big, so I actually had to fold it under itself. But I'm very happy with how all that came out, and how all of our blankets are the same as far as the material. We have all carbon fiber exteriors on them, so they all match, and they're all Torque Solutions. So very happy with how all that's come out. Now, like I did say, the only reason the turbo is back on the car is because Zach will be here actually tomorrow morning to start taking a look at this stuff and seeing, you know, what kind of has to happen to get this intercooler piping made. So very happy with the progress recently. Still got to finish up wrapping up the fuel lines where they connect to the rails and then back over to the fuel pressure regulator over here. But for the most part, all little stuff. This is going to be just a huge step with these intercooler parts. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop rambling on. I'll go ahead and show you guys a lot of the stuff. So we'll start with the intake parts. And when I say the intake parts, I basically mean the parts that are gonna come off this part of the turbo. This is actually the intake for the turbo where it draws its air. And then down here would be called your hot side of your turbo, where the air has been compressed, thus heating it up tremendously, coming through these pipes, going back down to the intercooler, over to that side, where after the intercooler cools the air, it'll come up and enter the throttle body. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at the intake parts. So these are all 4-inch. What's gonna happen is, hopefully we'll have the pipe come out here, go down under the fender well area, and then there'll be a filter under the fender well area somewhere. But let's go ahead and take a look at these. All right, so these 4 boxes right here are for our intake. Now, the first thing I want to show you guys, will kind of start from the turbo and then outwards into the fender well area. But this right here is an HD clamp assembly, one of the best clamps on the market. Vibrant rates this up to 800 PSI, and you guys will see where we have different sizes of these on the build in other places as we go along here. But yeah, here's the 4-inch clamp. So that's going to be what is connected to the intake of the turbo. So that way I can just take the intake tube out easily whenever I want to. So that is the first part. Now the second thing here is just a straight 4-inch pipe. That way we can kind of cut, manipulate, and do whatever we need to get the right length. I'll go ahead and take it out of the box here for you guys, get you a look at it. Nothing crazy special, but all quality pieces from Vibrant. As you guys may already know, 4-inch inside diameter, 18-inch long pipe here for our intake. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually just leave everything out of the boxes. These boxes from Vibrant are actually really nice, though some of them actually kind of look like shoe boxes, but very nice if you need boxes for anything like shipping stuff out. Just good stuff to keep. So I'm gonna just leave this stuff out here actually. As far as the pipes, I'll keep the clamps in the boxes because I don't really want to scratch them up, but the pipes are getting powder coated anyway. So, but here we have a 4-inch inside diameter, 45-degree bend. Let me go ahead and get this thing out of here for you guys. So this is what it's looking like, 45-degree bend. And this is just gonna be another piece of the intake that we're gonna be able to cut, manipulate, do what we need to do to get it right. So I'll put that down there for now. And the last piece that we have for our intake is gonna be a 4-inch inside diameter, 90-degree bend. And this is so that when it goes through the fender well area, it can have enough angle to basically get where it needs to get. So that way we can put the big filter down there in the fender well. So let's go ahead and get this thing out of here. So there's what that is looking like. It's actually pretty massive, but yeah, that is basically it for the intake stuff. And some of you guys may be asking, why are you going outside the fender well area? And that is just to improve the charge temperatures, because with the hood down, and I also do plan on potentially running a NA hood on this thing, which basically means it wouldn't have a hood scoop, so no extra ventilation. The engine temperatures can be pretty high, and that could, in theory, make us possibly produce a little bit less power. So it's always a good idea to grab your air from a colder source, which we're gonna do by going out under the fender well. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that here, and that is all of our intake pieces. Now we can go ahead and talk about the hot side piping, which this is all gonna be 2.5 inch all the way until the intercooler, which there I have an aluminum transition piece. So first thing we're gonna show you is the piece that's gonna come off of the turbo directly. So this is a cast aluminum elbow. And the reason why we use a cast aluminum elbow on this particular piece is because it has to be very, very tight angle to get around the strut tower. So that's what this looks like, and that's cast aluminum. So this is actually gonna be welded directly to the turbo. So our part number on this is 2873 from Vibrant. Great piece. It was actually on back order, but they hooked it up and got it here on time. So we'll leave that out here. And then here we go with our first piece of pipe we're probably gonna be using as far as the 2.5 inch stuff. This is a 2.5 inch, 18 inch long pipe here that we can manipulate and use to create our straight areas or whatever we might need to do. So get this out of here. There's what it's looking like. Nice aluminum, kind of polished a little bit more than what you might think, but looks great. Now I'm gonna go ahead and show you a couple of the other pieces we have here. So this one is a 2.5 inch 180 degree bend. So same as this one, but 2.5 inch. We'll get this out of here real quick. So here's what this looks like, and we're gonna be able to use this to go down through the bottom of the engine bay area, kind of where your ABS module would typically sit. We're gonna drill a hole saw there, go straight down. We can chop this right in half. If we need a 90, we can use this as a 90 as well. So that's another great piece. One of the last things we have here is another one of those. So I won't bore you guys opening it twice, but that is another one of the 180 degree. The reason why we didn't go for a 90 degree or a 45 degree is because with a 180 degree bend, it's bent a little tighter, so you can kind of cut and manipulate it a little bit better for whatever you need to do. So that's why we did two 2.5 inch 180 degree bends. I doubt we'll use both 180s, but we'll definitely cut and modify and use what we need. So the next thing that we potentially might need is our aluminum transition. So this basically takes the pipe from a 2.5 inch to a 3 inch. And the reason why we might need this is because the ends of our intercooler are 3 inch. So if our pipe was 2.5 inch going to a 3 inch end, then it might not pair up so nicely. So we can always include this and weld that into the pipe real quick. So that way, when we put it onto the intercooler, they butt heads and they don't have any type of area that wouldn't really weld too well. So you guys can kind of see the concave area where it does go from 2.5 to 3 inch. And it's very impressive how short this piece of pipe is, because obviously you don't want to take up too much extra room. So great piece there. The last two things that are going to finish out our hot side of the turbo piping are going to be our HD clamp assemblies. So you guys saw this on the intake, and these are the same thing, just obviously 1.5 inches smaller. So like I said, these are like top of the game as far as clamping and intercooler piping. This company is just immaculate and hooked me up all the way. So can't say enough about Vibrant Performance, and these clamps are just beautiful. I went for black clamps all around just because all the piping is going to be red, and I think that will help contrast it a good bit. So very excited about those. Now we can go ahead and talk about the cold side, also known as the charge piping. The reason why people call it that is because it is the cold air coming from the turbo basically into throttle body or the engine. So I decided that we're gonna go ahead and run 3 inch from the end of the intercooler over to the throttle body, because that way the engine can take in a little bit more air than if we just went 2.5 inch. If I was gonna do 2.5 inch, there was not really much sense in upgrading the throttle body to a 3 inch throttle body. So I wanna get everything I can out of the bigger throttle body and go ahead and use the 3 inch piping all the way from the intercooler up to the throttle body. So we'll go ahead and show you guys a couple things real quick. What we have here, a 3 inch, 18 inch pipe. So this is just like these right here, except 3 inch. I'm not gonna really bore you guys with getting this stuff out of the box. But then we have a 3 inch 45 degree bend. So we basically came up with the fact that we're gonna need two 45 degree bends between the intercooler and the throttle body. So we have those two, and what we also have here is a kite radius 90 degree bend. So I do actually want to show you guys this one because it's a lot tighter radius than your typical 90. And the reason why we went with this one is because we're kind of jammed for space a little bit where the throttle body comes out. So we'll probably have to chop this off real tight and weld this directly to the flange that bolts to the throttle body. So then that way we can have our clearance. We won't have any issues with the room at all. So this thing, very nice. It's crazy how tight they can bend this thing without actually kinking the pipe. So that's a very important piece. The other things with the 3 inch piping are gonna be a 180 degree bend. So like I said, with the other 180 degree bends, this will be something we can cut, manipulate, and do what we need to do to get it in the right positioning. So that is pretty much it. The only other thing I have is a 3 inch HD clamp assembly. And I'm sorry if I missed any part numbers. I'll have a list of all the part numbers in the description. You guys can also click back onto my last video where I went over where all the piping is gonna kind of land, and I did put a list on there of all the pieces, but it's very cool to have everything here. And I just can't wait to get started, getting Zach here, getting an idea of where all these pipes are gonna be, and just getting the build going. It really feels like I'm getting some momentum now. And unfortunately, we hadn't really been doing too much for a couple weeks there, but this is a big step forward, and I know it is. So if you guys like this content, be sure to drop a like, hit that subscribe button. We're gonna go through everything when Zach is here of how he does it, you know, where he welds, where he cuts, where he wants to mark things to try to get everything proper. So then you guys can get a better idea of the process and hopefully learn something. So like I said, drop a like, hit that subscribe button. See you guys in the next one. Peace.